I'm going to take you now to Parliament. As you know, he's a member of Parliament. While in Parliament, they have been grieving as well. I'll take you through a statement that has been issued. As you also know, President Ekow Hayford has written to them. But this is a letter from Parliament. It's captured Parliament in mourning. It says Parliament is shocked and extremely saddened by the gruesome murder of the Member of Parliament from Mfantseman, the first-time Member of Parliament, served on the Judiciary Committee and the Defence and Interior Committees. The late Honourable Member was a quiet, hard-working man who did his job diligently with very little fuss. Speaker and members, while mourning the loss of their colleague, have expressed the hope for expedited action to find and bring the perpetrators of this heinous crime to book. Parliament expresses deep condolence to his wife, children, family, and friends, the Mfantseman constituency and the entire nation. Kate Addo, Director of Public Affairs, sent that release in. Joseph Opoku Gakpo will be joining me live, but first he's been interacting with some of the members of Parliament on what has happened.
Members of Parliament continue to express concerns about their security. In fact, some of them have had very terrible experiences with, robbers and people attacking them and all. Some of them are joining me here for a conversation. Let's begin with the Honourable Kennedy Kankam. He's had some experience. He's the MP for Nshire. So what exactly happened in your case? What do you think should change going forward in the light of the death of your colleague?
Well, thank you very much. I think by 3rd November this year will be exactly 1 year when I was attacked by armed robbers in my house, my residence in Kumasi. I think myself and my family was taken hostage for almost 3 hours. And I think the experience is quite terrible. It was very, very terrible. It's something that I cannot describe it by words. In fact, I don't wish it happens to anybody. It is something that is quite very, very bad.
Do you get the sense that happened as a result of you being a target as a member of Parliament, or this is generally a case of in your specific incident, general insecurity, at least in the neighborhood where you live?
I think it's a targeted thing, because if you look at the way my house is built, the walls and the security system in the place, and if you look at even the electrical wiring and the fencing of the place, it is something that if it's not well planned, it won't be easy for any robber to just break into the house. It was something that was targeted. The robbers told me exactly that you were the target, but for the sake of your children, you have a very, very, very young family, so we cannot do that to you. And they demanded something, and we paid the ransom to them before my life was spared on that day.
That's interesting. Dr. Clement Park, so we've had a situation with Ekow Hayford. How can this be fixed going forward so MPs don't suffer some of these kinds of attacks?
Well, first of all, before I speak to the unfortunate and barbaric manner in which our colleague has been, sent to his maker, it's important I also indicate that I've also been a victim of a robbery in my home. This was right after I was invited by the former president, now NDC flag bearer, to join his government in 2013. 5 gun-wielding men invaded my home, held me and my family hostage, and indeed I was also lucky because in the middle of the operation I suddenly felt the urge to speak Hausa, and for some reason I just made the statement Mina Iku, which is what have I done to you people. Suddenly after I made that comment, I could see that the mood of the robbers changed, and so they then decided that they should leave. This was after they had meted some very savage beatings out to my brother-in-law. And I must admit, it is an experience that when you go through, it changes your life forever. The trauma that it comes with is something that you can't understand until you go through. And I would never wish that upon any other human being. With regards to our colleague who has lost his life, I would say in the line of duty, because as a member of Parliament for Mfantseman, and as we are in the campaigning season, it is only part of his job to go out to meet members of his constituency to advocate and justify why he should be retained. And for him to die the way that he did should clearly call attention to the need for maximum security for politically exposed persons, particularly members of Parliament. The way it stands now, if you are in the executive or you are in the judiciary, you have access to state-provided security. But those of us who are not, we are left on our own. And I think it is becoming one too many. I think it is about time that we as a people make the commitment to ensure that those that we select to lead us are also given the needed protection. Because without this, it is going to make it very difficult for more people with the right competencies and abilities to step up. Because if you are going to become politically exposed, and if that is going to endanger your life, then one may ask, what is the point?
I'll get back to the two of you in a jiffy, but Honorable Kabna Ohemitingasi, MP for Kede, shouldn't the focus be on improving the general security across the country so that you MPs will be safe as well, rather than an idea that, as is being called for even on the floor, you MPs need extra protection?
Yes, my point of view is that we should have a general security arrangement so that everybody is safe. If everybody becomes safe, there will be no need for MPs or chief executives, DCEs, judiciary, and other people to be well protected. But in as much as the general security is not covering all, then at least if we are giving preference to some people, then we think as members of parliament we should also be considered, because we have chief executives having police protection, we have regional ministers having police protection, we have DCEs having police protection, members of the judiciary. So why not members of the legislature?
Let me put this final question to Honorable Kankam. Do you think things would have been different in your home that day if you had police protection one way or the other?
Yeah, I don't think they would have even ventured to come to the place, because looking at the way the architecture of my house is and the type of security system that I've put in place, you know, if police officer or a security officer were to be detained at the place, I think the situation would have been different. At least we would have had a hint of it that some people have entered the compound. So I would have activated other security, or I could have even called the police boss or the security officers that I have their contact on my phone.
Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, they're interacting with some members of parliament who are advancing their argument for more security for parliamentarians. Well, like I said, President Ekow Hayford today has been writing to parliament. He's also been expressing his sadness about the situation. So he tweeted earlier this morning, and that's the tweet. He says, "I am shocked and saddened by news of the murder of the Member of Parliament from Mfantseman, Honorable Ekow Hayford, by suspected armed robbers in the early hours of this morning. It is sad. It is a sad day for Mfantseman and for Mother Ghana." Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins me from Parliament. Hello, Joseph. I'm hopeful that you can hear us, but we've had the conversation you had with the members of parliament. Hello, Joseph?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Great, I do hear you. So we've seen your interaction with the members of parliament. This is certainly a big conversation that has been going on. What has been happening in parliament generally today?
So the flags here in Parliament are flying at half-mast as a result of the development with the death of the Mfantseman MP. Earlier in the day, there was a 1-minute silence to actually mark his killing. It was actually the very first item the Speaker dealt with the moment he took his seat. He read the letter from the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, expressing his condolences to Parliament. And in that letter, President Akufo-Addo assured Parliament that those responsible will be brought to book. And the President further assured that his administration takes the security of members of Parliament very seriously. And so the necessary steps will be taken to protect MPs. And after that, the Speaker opened up for comments from members of the House. And the MPs are unhappy. I don't want to use the word angry because that may be an exaggeration of a sort, but they are very much unhappy with the police administration. For example, there was a letter that was read out by the minority leader, the Honorable Harry Idrisu. Apparently, some weeks ago, there was a letter from the Clerk of Parliament to the office of the IGP requesting that those who are leaders in the House, like the Speaker, the First Deputy Speaker, the Second Deputy Speaker, the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader, the Majority Chief Whip, the Minority Chief Whip, they do have police bodyguards. So there was a communication from the clerk that with the campaign heating up and all, they would want to have a situation where when they are back in their constituencies, there should be some form of protection for them even at the level of the constituency, so extra security as they seek to campaign. And there was a reply from the police administration signed by Commissioner of Police Dr. George Akufodampare to Parliament, indicating that the police administration is stretched to a certain extent. They are dealing with election-related issues and they are dealing with increased security concerns. So they are unable to provide that extra security for the leadership of Parliament. And for MPs, they think this is worrying. They make the argument that ministers and deputy ministers and district chief executives have police bodyguards, so they don't understand how come when MPs need police bodyguards to be protected and all, then it's a difficulty for the police administration. They reference the judges who all have security men, which they think is unfair. And in the course of the conversation and MPs raising the concerns, Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, directed that Ambrose Derry, who is the Minister for Interior, shows up in the House on Tuesday. He's inviting him to come brief MPs on what is being done to better protect them, especially in these times when there's a lot of campaigning happening. But one hint that we've gotten is that there's been communication from leadership to MPs that for now they should limit how they move about, particularly at night, in order to ensure their security, even as efforts are made to protect them using the state security apparatus.
I'll leave it there for you. Thank you so much for those and that update. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is our parliamentary affairs correspondent, bringing us up to speed. And as you heard him say, the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has been invited to the House to brief them on what we're doing as far as security is concerned, especially in the wake of campaigns. Well, earlier on Election Brief, I spoke to security analyst Adib Sani. Here are his thoughts on the matter.
The growing sense of insecurity is not starting with the murder of the Mfantseman MP. Indeed, it is something we have been grappling with for some time now. According to police statistics, according to statistics from the Bureau of Public Safety, and even the U.S. Department of State, since 2017, there's growing insecurity in the country. Crime is on the increase. There are well over 1.2 million illegal guns in the system. On an annual basis, over 500 Ghanaians are murdered. And local authorities, as has been captured in the travel advisory published by the U.S. Department of State for its citizens coming to Ghana, they say lack the capacity to counter the threats. Okay, so this is no news. And for some of us, it is not coming as a surprise because for years on end, and it cuts across the political divide, we have failed to deal with the fundamental issues of security in the country. And for us to now simplistically say that the solution to all that is happening is for MPs to be given armed guards, I think it will be tantamount to dealing with the issue unscientifically, unsustainably, and localizing it rather than looking at it from the broader picture. Now, how about the average Joe persons like you and I?
That's an argument that has been made. But if you get to the parliamentarians and the other people who are calling for extra security for themselves, that's those who are in parliament, the argument they make is that it's looking more as if people do not have fear. People do not have regard for persons, and they're putting themselves in the Article 71, a category, and saying that the other people who are within this category who enjoy that security, why can't you give us as MPs the same?
Well, the thing is, Gifty, because of the nature of every job, I mean, just as MPs, you are a reporter, I mean, you are a journalist, and there are sometimes you engage in investigative reportage, which would not go down well with some people. So that could make you a potential target. I'm a security analyst. I talk about security every day. I make the work of the criminals very difficult. So I'm a potential target. Whether you are an investment banker with someone investing something with you and not going the way he expected, you could also be a potential target. So almost everybody is a potential target. MPs are potential targets, but I've always maintained that dealing with it at the localized level, giving MPs security, despite the fact that yes, they claim those within that article have security, is not going to help the situation. We have a major issue considering it from the wider context. How do we manage the security of the state in a much more effective and efficient manner? How do we go beyond just thinking that the solution to the myriad of security challenges we're facing in the country all boils down to donation of pickups and other vehicles to the police, when we have consistently failed to invest in situational crime prevention, when we have consistently failed in training our law enforcement officers in line with best international practices to counter this threat, because it is common knowledge that a lot of these criminals are always a step ahead of law enforcement. How do we capacitate them? How do we give them the equipment? How do we create an environment where it will not be profitable to commit crime, rather than just giving them security? I do understand, I mean, the awkward situation they have gotten themselves to, but every single Ghanaian has a security concern. So I think this is a wake-up call for us. This is the golden opportunity for us to explore the myriad of ways, of strategies, the multidimensional strategy we can adopt in dealing with the state of insecurity in the country, rather than simplistically providing security to MPs. Because trust me, these guys have become more audacious. They are able to go after police personnel in broad daylight, in the streets. You understand? So if they want to come after you, they come after you whether you have a police escort or not. Recently, remember, they attacked a bullion van. A bullion van is fortified. Just they were able to attack it. So this is a wider issue that we need to approach from a wider scientific perspective, rather than just thinking that providing police officers to MPs will solve the issue.
Adib Sani is a security analyst with JATK. He spoke to me earlier on Election Brief. Well, we still keep our eyes on our own security as we work with the state to protect all of us. We also remember that the police is seeking information. Anybody who has information on how to track down the killers of the Member of Parliament, the police welcome that information. They're putting a 20,000 bounty on the heads of those who killed him.